This is your City Council Roundup, a recap of what's happening at City Hall with John Ongaro. The views expressed in this program are solely of those of the host and not necessarily those of the radio station or its partners.
Well, away we go. As I have a sip of my water. Just trying to extend the council roundup today because
it was a short meeting.
Well, it's nothing. Well, there were a few things last night. A couple councilors missing. We started right on time. The most debate and most discussion had to do with items extracted from the minutes for discussion that included a couple of subdivisions, one in Gemstone Estates and one on Dawson Road. There was a plan to have these places built a number of years ago, both of them approved back in 2015. The first one in Gemstone had 62 lots, 4 lots for mid-rise residential, 5 new streets, and a whole bunch of other stuff with a potential of up to 242 residential units. That got delayed a couple of times. The property changed hands, et cetera, et cetera. They asked for an extension. There was some questions about why an extension, what's going on. Well, it was about to lapse in January. So now those things have been extended. They can go forward, including the one on Dawson Road. So a couple of new subdivisions. Nice.
I'd like to hear that. Very nice.
City Council also gave the green light to a critical funding request aimed at boosting the efficiency of its efforts to manage local encampments. Hang on to your hats. Don't get too excited. In a vote last night, they approved about $60,000 to purchase a new fleet vehicle for the encampment response team. The capital expenditure is designed to procure a small truck, which the administration stated is necessary to provide the team with necessary mobility. The vehicle will allow the team to attend both existing and newly identified encampments, respond quickly to community issues, and actively support relocations managed by the council's approved enhanced encampment response plan, part of the 10-point human rights action plan. I know that sounds confusing. The fact of the matter is they are buying this truck, even though the rest of the plan, we'll get to that in a second. There are no direct costs to municipal taxpayers on this. The appropriation is fully funded by external sources, specifically drawing from Health Canada's Emergency Treatment Fund grant. The city was previously awarded $237,000 from this fund, and council is authorized entering into the service agreement, getting into the service agreement back in February. Because this fleet vehicle purchase was not included and approved in the capital budget, council approval was required last night to establish a new project. It's all part of the new plan. Next up, a little bit of controversy, but no conversation. Controversy within the community, but it was kind of a slam dunk last night. At last night's meeting, a big change was proposed on how weekday ice times is booked across city arenas. City staff are recommending that weekday ice bookings be streamlined to save money and better match current demand. The main idea is to stop regular weekday bookings at Niebing Arena and close Grandview Arena on just Mondays for maintenance. These changes are expected to kick in next week. This move is meant to fix some scheduling and maintenance issues that popped up after last year's budget. More importantly, it's a response to staff concerns, especially from facility operators about having to work too many back-to-back night shifts. The goal is to improve work-life balance and keep the staff happy, even though Niebing Arena saw over 540 hours of weekday bookings last season. Wow. Most of that came from school groups using an agreement with the city. Staff said there's enough space at the other arenas to handle this, and school boards don't expect any problems with the switch. Exceptions will be made for tournaments, maintenance-related relocations, or if weekday demand picks up again. The motion was approved last night. There you go.
That has been in the discussion for a few years now, hasn't this whole ice time situation?
It has been back and forth, and it all goes together with the outdoor rinks and just trying to find ways to streamline it all.
Appreciate your explanation of this as well, and there's also a full breakdown on that story at yourthunderbay.ca.
All right, can we talk about, again, another dramatic pivot that didn't happen last night, but it was brought to the table last night. This, of course, is the notice of motion filed by Councillor Rajni Agarwal. The motion seeks to delete Item 4, the Temporary Village Project, from the 10-point human rights-based community action plan ratified by Council on October 28th, 2024. The temporary village was intended to create 80 indoor sheltering options with essential services accessible to those people. Agarwal states that the purpose of removing this item is to allow City Council a chance to regroup and focus their efforts on seeking additional funding recently announced for housing by the federal government. Councillor Agarwal argues that with the new federal resources available, citing a potential $13 billion towards affordable housing and homelessness in the country, $1 billion specifically towards homelessness, the city should strive for, quote, the full robust housing required with proper partnerships for permanent structures in lieu of a temporary shed. Why didn't we talk about this a year ago?
Yeah.
Believing that the city is at a crisis point and deserving of high levels of funding, the goal is to lobby for a spectrum of permanent transitional housing to be owned and operated by specialized organizations. If the motion passes next time around, which is on the 21st, administration would be required to report back to City Council regarding the potential extra funding available. So, here's what happens next. Now that there is a notice of motion again about the temporary village, this is the fourth one officially, this amendment will require a 2/3 vote. That means 9 members need to pass this to hit the brakes on the temporary village again. The next meeting is October 21st, where this will be discussed. Now, I want to make sure that we all understand something. This is the 10-part human rights the human rights response, the human rights-based approach to dealing with the encampments. There are 10 items. I'm not going to read them all to you, but number 4 is build the temporary shelter village. To create a safe and supportive temporary shelter village with individual units and services to help residents transition towards more appropriate housing. Number 5 on this 10-point plan is contingent on number 4, which is explore allowable encampment areas and investigate up to 3 designated locations where services can be delivered more efficiently and safely, aiming to reduce the strain on emergency services. If number 4, build the temporary village, comes out of the 10-point plan that was approved by this council a year ago, number 5, which is allowable encampment areas, doesn't happen. Do you understand? We're taking out number 4, don't build a village, but then that means it's a free-for-all where the tents go.
So last night, council voted.
Council did nothing last night.
Council agreed to debate this.
Did not even do that. Last night's notice of motion is just to tell council and the community that this debate and discussion is coming up on the 21st.
All right.
So, whatever your thoughts are on the encampments and the temporary shelter village, you now have another 2 weeks to call your counselors, write an email, and tell them what you think. But I hate to say this, up until this point, they've not listened to anybody. And so here we are again for the 4th time with a notice of motion surrounding the temporary shelter, the temporary village. Here we are again talking about it on October 21st.
So in 2 weeks, they could change their mind again?
They could change their mind. Now, here's the thing. They're not changing their mind technically on a location. They're changing their mind on the entire thing.
So to basically, they could scrap this all.
Right. And so here's my prediction.
Wow.
There's no way. There is no way that this council has the courage to do something this big. And I'm not being mean when I say that, but we have been beating this dead horse for a year. And with 4 notices of motion in front of council to change locations, to adjust the plan, all of it came down to this 10-part plan for enhanced encampment response. This is the human rights-based approach that they approved in October of last year. These 10 points are there on purpose. They're in order on purpose. The temporary shelter is number 4. And what Councillor Agarwal is suggesting, the 10-point plan that we said yes to a year ago, let's just change it and take out the temporary village.
You honestly, as we have always said before, you need a scorecard to keep track of this. This is confusing as heck.
Yeah.
I appreciate you trying to explain this, John, but my goodness. So in 2 weeks, this could all be gone.
Well, in 2 weeks, we're going to have to listen to it again. And I don't see anybody, especially after the fairly lively debate a couple of weeks ago, I don't see anybody changing their vote on this. There are people that went ahead on the Hilliard site, and it's getting built. Like, that's where we're at. But this notice of motion is taking it out of the mix. Not just the location.
Just taking it off the table.
Taking the shelter out of the mix. Now, the problem with this is the biggest problem with this is this. The explore allowable encampment areas in number 5 on the 10-point plan is only contingent on building a shelter. You can't tell people where to put their tents if you're not offering them a place to live. And so this part is going to be part of the debate because somebody's going to bring it up. Somebody's going to say, all of these people that have issues with people setting up tents literally in their backyards can't be told to move unless there's a temporary shelter. Now you're suggesting taking the temporary shelter away, which means that the tents will continue. At this point, it doesn't mean that the Hilliard site is paused in any way. It's not. It doesn't mean we're hitting the brakes yet. It'll all come down to the 21st when they vote on it, which again requires a 2/3 vote. And to make sure that you understand, if there are counselors missing, it doesn't mean 2/3 of who's in the room. It means 2/3 of who's eligible to vote. So in order for number 4 to be taken out of the 10-part plan, to scrap the whole idea of the temporary shelter, you will need 9 counselors to agree to it. And in my opinion, that's never going to happen. And here we are. The meeting last night, by the way, Danny, ended at 7:08 p.m. A whopping 33 minutes in length.
Well, with, no disrespect to everything on the agenda there, but, there was a Blue Jays game too.
Well, they wanted to get home for that.
Possibly.
But it just, enjoy the a couple of minutes of extra time last night because they're going to eat it all up on the 21st.
Yeah, here we go. Revisiting it again. All right. Well, thank you, John, for breaking that down.
I did my best. It feels like this roundup was longer than the meeting last night.
Right? Yeah.
But it is a stressful time. And here we are again. Again, the 4th notice of motion regarding the temporary village. It comes to the table at the next city council meeting, which is on October 21st, a Tuesday night.
All right. Thank you, John. A recap of the city council roundup you'll find on our website, yourthunderbay.ca.